content presented in this podcast is based on real events and may contain graphic descriptions of violence, sensitive topics, and explicit language that may be triggering, offensive, or sensitive subjects to some viewers and listeners. Discretion is advised. The purpose of this podcast is to explore and discuss true crime cases for entertainment and educational purposes only. This podcast does not intend to glorify or sensationalize crime, but rather aims to analyze and understand the complexities of human behavior in the criminal justice system. We encourage listeners to approach this content with empathy, critical thinking, respect for the victims and their families.
Doing things a little differently tonight, as you can probably hear in my voice. I do have a nasty head cold. It's probably because I spent the whole weekend at the Palmer House in Sauk Center, Minnesota, basically mingling with very unhygienic ghosts. Um, we had a blast all weekend. I did tarot readings, and we did ghost investigations. I did a talk. Cindy Kaza was there, Shane Pittman, and then, of course, my husband, Dave Schrader, which the Paranormal Mysteries TV show on Stream Beacon TV will be airing sometime mid to end September. So we wanted to get a Paranormal Mysteries event going and have kind of a Holzer Files reunion. So we had a lot of fun at the Palmer House. And this weekend, I am spending it in Lake City, South Dakota at Fort Sisseton Historic Park with Dave. I'm going to be doing tarot readings there as well. So we've been having fun going from event to event, but obviously, sometimes the germs catch up with you. So that's why I'm off camera, because I'm puffy and nobody wants a puffy Winnie. So, but what I wanted to do for this week, since I didn't have time to record with the turnaround of having to travel back out of town, a few months back, I did a interview with Jerry Jamison, who wrote the book Vanishing Act. Now, this story is right up the alley of history, mystery, cons, and fake deaths. I mean, it's right out of a Hollywood script. I mean, they had the movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks about the real life story of Frank Abagnale, who was a con artist, and he was a forger, and he made his way through life pretending to be a pilot and a doctor and a lawyer and God knows whatever else he wanted to be, and obviously forging checks and such. But there's another character too who is just like that, and that's Dr. Robert Spears. Now, this guy, talk about a con artist, being a sociopath, a psychopath. I mean, everything on top of everything. Now, this guy faked his death by crashing a commercial airliner. Yes. It wasn't that he was just faking his death with an already, deceased body that he got out of a morgue. No, he blew up an entire airliner with innocent people aboard to fake his death. And then he became a doctor, in quotes, and then he started doing these backroom abortions. Now, that's why I'm going to have him on for the second part. We kind of delve more into the backroom abortions that Dr. Spears performed. If you're sensitive to this topic, this is not the episode for you. And this is what this con artist, Dr. Spears, did. He was kind of the Dr. Feelgood for women's issues in Hollywood. Hollywood, back in the golden days of Elvis in the 50s and 60s, Sinatra's and the James Deans and all that. That era of Hollywood, well, there was a lot of scandal going on. And Dr. Spears became the doctor for the women. When a woman became pregnant, he was the one that took care of the problem. And he was the go-to guy for that. And we all know the devastation and the dangers of having those backroom abortions and how dangerous they were for women back then. And that's why we had it become legal to make sure that it's done in a safe manner for the patient. And a lot of women, unfortunately, passed away due to infections, bleeding to death. All sorts of issues came after having those illegal abortions. So that's why I wanted to touch base on this, because it's still part of the story. And we do recap the first part of the book. that I had as part 1 of this episode. So you kind of get a little recap in case you missed part 1. But if you did miss part 1, I will put in today's description the link for that episode so you can go back and revisit in case there's some things that we didn't touch base on in the recap that was in the first part of the interview. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. Again, I'm just going to say this um, as a disclaimer. If this topic, the topic of abortion or anything related to it, this is not the episode for you. And my goal is not to traumatize you, but I'm giving you fair warning now. So if this is not the show for you, time to click this show off. But those of you who are interested, with that being said, it's time to start the show. Let's hit it. Hi, and welcome to an exclusive episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, Merlot. I am your host, Winnie Schrader. Well, a couple weeks ago, we had Jerry Jamison on about his book, The Vanishing Act, Crashed Airliner, Fake Death, and Backroom Abortions. But I wanted to get him back on to talk about these backroom abortions because it wasn't just like somebody going into some back of a butcher shop laying on a table while some doctor takes care of your problem. There was a network of abortions and going on, and we're talking. It's reached into Hollywood, MGM. When the starlets accidentally have an issue, this was the doctor that took care of it. The book is called The Vanishing Act. This is one that you gotta read. I started fanning through some of it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a book I just need to sit down and just read in one sitting. But because there's a lot of twisted turns in it. But yeah, we're going to talk about that backroom abortions part of it tonight. Like I said, if you guys, if you can't handle really graphic content, this is not the episode for you. If the word abortion is a trigger word for you, don't watch this episode as well. So, but I'd like to welcome Jerry to the show. Welcome to the show, Jerry.
Hello. Thank you for having me back on. It's good to see you again. And
Yeah. Yes. So, we touched based on supposed doctor, I'll put that in quotations, Robert Spears, who faked his death with an airplane. If you kind of want to give us a quick backstory in case somebody if they haven't seen episode 1 yet or part 1 of this, if you kind of give a little backstory for those people, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Robert Spears, and we will call him a doctor because that is how he was known not throughout his life, but in this period of his life.
Mhm.
He was a consummate con man, a fraudster. He was a snake oil salesman. He was everything you could think of. This story, his life took place 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. It was a long career, and it was a long career of crime. He had 26 different aliases that I could track. When I published the book, it was 23. In the meantime, in the few weeks out, I found 3 more. Yeah.
You got to write it in pencil.
Getting.
Just keep adding names.
He was also in federal prison in 12 different times in 12 different prisons. So a long prison career. He's arrested in over 20 cities, a couple of countries. So he's a criminal. He is just a professional criminal. There's no other way to think about him. But what he did over time was he evolved, and he evolved from petty theft at the age of 12, which landed him in an Oklahoma reformatory.
Mhm.
all the way up until he's in his late 60s, and he's still committing crimes. In that stretch, and as he evolves, he will become involved in abortions. And we'll talk about that separately. But to move past that, he is arrested eventually. He's actually
Mhm.
arrested several times, but he always had good lawyers that got him out of it. But one time it was a bridge too far, and he was caught in Los Angeles, in Santa Monica. And he is out on bail, and
Mhm.
he decides that if he goes to jail this time, he will die in jail, and he does not want to die in jail. So he makes the unbelievable decision to meet up with his best friend. By best friend, I mean dear friend, like a brother. They were best men
Mhm.
at each other's weddings. They traveled together. They were vacationed together, families. He meets him up Tampa and says, I want to set you up a partnership, a business with me. I have a business in Dallas all set up. I have business meetings already scheduled. You drive from Tampa to Dallas. I will fly from Tampa to Dallas. I need to get something to my wife quickly. We'll meet there. The meetings are scheduled. People
Mhm.
and meeting in the coffee shop. The waitresses gave testimony of them having a good time laughing out loud in the coffee shop. And his friend, Al Taylor by name, gets on that plane. What happens is Al Taylor says, my neck is hurting me. I have such a bad neck. Robert Spears by records says, I was a good Samaritan. I was a good friend, a loving friend. I said, you know what? I'll drive your car. Give me your license. Give me your registration. Give me your keys. I'll drive the car. You take my ticket for the airplane, which you could do in the 1950s. You could just hand off a ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fly over there, take this package to my wife. As soon as you land, go to my wife. This is cash. So hang on to it. Don't lose it. This is cash for her. And Al Taylor gets on that plane, and 22 minutes later, that entire airliner explodes, killing everybody on board, passengers
Oh
and
my
crew.
God.
And it sinks to the deepest part of the Gulf of Mexico. And to this day, it's never been recovered because it was beyond the depth of divers during that era. And it turns out that he just assumed his friend's identity for as long as he
Uh-huh.
needed it, and then eventually tossed that identity, moved on to a new one. But he sacrificed his dearest, best, closest friend so that
Mhm.
he would be listed on the manifest as having died. And the first newspaper reports, as they came out, tell this tragic story of a renowned Dallas doctor, OBGYN, who was, fatefully on board that plane that exploded and sank to the island, the bottom of the sea. So
Well,
that's that story.
okay, one question I do have, because of okay, so he said that he bought the plane ticket, he had this package, that he needed to take to Dallas. Um, Now his friend said that his neck hurt. Did he I mean, was he planning to figure out a way to get his friend to swap and him take his friend's car and he take the plane ticket? Or, I mean, is it kind of like, was he trying to wait for a moment to say that? I mean, because it was like the friend who was the one who initiated him wanting to swap the whole transportation,
Right.
'cause of his neck being sore. So, what was kind of, Robert Spears's mindset? Like, did he have a plan? But he just that opportunity came up and that's when he took it?
Now, I assume he had a plan. He had
Okay.
flown to Tampa, had really prompted this whole, really had seeded this idea of we're going to be in business together. We're going to make lots and lots of money. He already knew that Al Taylor had a neck issue. He was well aware of it. He had spent the week there with him before. So
Okay.
I don't know that he went there with the intention of doing this. I think what happened is while he was in Florida meeting with his best friend and knowing that in 2 weeks he was going to be you know, going to court. He was going to be convicted. He was going to be sentenced. I think he
Mhm.
just an opportunist and said, because the bomb was put together with timers from a camera, so that a camera would have a 10-second delay on a.
Yeah.
You might
Oh,
have.
wow.
So they've actually found those pieces, eventually in the water. The FAA did, and they found the bomb parts, and they realized, and by we don't know for sure, but mm, by best guess, when he was in Florida, he bought a camera, he assembled this bomb, carried that package there. If his friend Al had refused to to swap the tickets, if he had said, "No, I wanna drive," it was a brand new car, for one thing. It
Mhm.
was a sleek, new Buick, beautiful Buick, and if he had said, "No, I'm gonna drive, I wanna do a road trip, that would be fun." I don't know if Dr. Spears, again, you could walk on and off planes in those days,
Yeah.
amazingly. You could just the doors were open, you could walk. If you said, "Hey, I wanna go say goodbye to my wife and give her a kiss," you could walk on the plane and do that. So I'm thinking he thought there would be an alternative way to put that on there. When his friend agreed to it, just tragically, heartbreakingly, he said, "Here, take this
Mhm.
package."
Wow. That's
Hard to even
I
think of.
right. Especially knowing that they had such a close relationship that they were like brothers, and for him to just turn on him like a dime like that, just
Yeah, I have
that's like
in the book, in Vanishing Act, there really an extensive photo section in there. I have the rights to a large number of photos that nobody has access to. And, you see the photo of Robert Spears as best man in Al Taylor's wedding, and they're standing side by side with the boutonnieres, the classic 1950s, look. And,
uh,
here's this wedding picture of them together, and, you know, just sometime later, he's gonna
yeah.
he's gonna
Yeah.
sacrifice him.
Yeah, and that's a shame because it's just to know that he could just toss away somebody that meant a lot to him and just not even think to bother, just like because his buddy Al had family too, and it's just like
Yeah.
people in his life were that disposable to him. It's just
Well,
it's
and if you extend it,
sad.
43, 42, 43 other lives were expendable.
Right.
So he didn't stop to think for a second. Those are grandmothers on there. There were 2 children on board there on that,
Uh,
plane. There was a couple that had just gotten married in Tampa, and they were getting there to fly to Los Angeles for their honeymoon. Uh,
it's
there were
awful.
professors. Ironically, there were 2
Hmm.
mobsters on board, 2 mobsters that were in Mickey Cohen's, um, crime ring in Chicago, and they were on board. So the initial thinking was that the plane had blown up
Oh,
because somebody was retaliating against Mickey Cohen's, crime gang. So all the first
yeah.
thinking was, "Oh, yeah, these are 2 mobsters on here. They were definitely targeted."
Wow. So the plane crashed. Now, he got Al's ID, his car. So what does he do? He becomes Al Taylor
He be
and starts driving his car across
He does,
country.
yeah. He becomes Al Taylor, but he only needs
Oh.
that for a matter of weeks because um, again, he shifted in and out of personas, not just
Mhm.
aliases, but personas, and he shifted in and out of them so effortlessly that I don't even think, one thing your followers should know is that, uh, Robert Spears never knew his name. He never knew his real name his entire life. So when
That's
he was a child in Oklahoma, living in poverty with a single mother, his mother, let's just say, had lots of boyfriends,
Mhm.
and she lived by moving in and out of men's homes. This would be like the 1920s, and
Mhm.
she would live with them for a month, and then move on, and
Mhm.
had this habit of wherever she moved, she changed her son's name. So every stop, she would change his name, which could be every month at times,
Oh my
and
gosh.
he actually never knew his own name. So, he just has had the first memories of a name, but
Uh-huh.
and that, never knew his father or who his father was. But so he never really, and I think, and then by 12, he's in a reformatory, permanently in a reformatory in Oklahoma.
Mhm.
And I think his mother taught him, when there are difficult times, when there is pressure, you just move and change who you are. And he would do
Mhm.
that the rest of his life. I'm not sure he even thought of that as, "This is criminal." I think he just thought, "This is what you do." I mean, imagine if you were a 5 or 6-year-old, and when you move to a new house, you say, "Well, when we move to a new house, we change our names." For all he wasn't going to school, nobody was there to tell him, "No, you don't do that. That's not how it works."
Right.
So he may have just thought, "Well, this is what you do," and he did it forever.
Yeah, it was his norm. Yeah, he
Quite
was
tragic
obviously
because
good at it.
eh, you know, when you think of a child and what she is doing to him, it's just
Mhm.
heartbreaking, heartbreaking.
Yeah. I know, and just yeah, not knowing who he really is, and then just having to learn to be a chameleon and just adapt to each situation that you're in. You're not gonna have an identity.
Yeah,
You're you're
he had
just
a
gonna be
sister at
whatever.
one point, and
Uh-huh.
he didn't I never knew what happened to her. It's like we moved to one house, when we moved to the next one, she wasn't with us. He never knew what happened to her. So, you know, but just, it's just
Awful.
heartbreaking. It's really terrible.
That is. So, okay, so he gets to, a place out, was it Arizona? He found a friend kinda living in a shack out in the middle of
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah.
Um, so and is that where he starts kind of building up the whole abortion stuff there? Kinda when did that start?
So that started much, much earlier. He had,
Okay.
um so he was really, uh an old-fashioned term is a flim-flam man. A
Mhm.
flim-flam man was a guy that, he was part snake oil salesman, he was part magician. He'd roll into a rural town, have his spiel, his shtick. He would sell an ointment, or he would, you know, do something.
Yeah.
Didn't matter what it was. They have money, I don't have money, I'll figure out a way to get this money. And that's
Yeah.
what he was. So he would, like, get a job someplace, steal all the checks at the company, start writing bad checks, immediately start purchasing things with the money. So he would take bad checks and go in and buy a new automobile, for instance. He would go
Oh
buy
my
a
god.
custom suit. He bought a suit that is equivalent today to a $2,500 wool suit and began wearing it around town. He was written up in the local papers as the most eligible bachelor in town.
Oh my goodness.
By the end of the week, he's in jail. He's in prison because, and they said, "Well, you bought a flashy car, you ate in the most expensive restaurants, you had girls on both arms, you had, the cool hats, the whole thing. Didn't you think you'd get caught?" And he goes, "Well, it was worth it. I mean, I didn't wanna steal the money and do nothing with it." But, he didn't even leave town. So, he'd spent 2 years in jail, he was completely happy with it. He said, I always said, "Oh, it's worth it." He admitted it every time. "Oh, yeah, I did it. Sure, absolutely, that's me. Proud of it."
Yeah. Well, and
So
it's true. I mean, he kept getting back out, so it was just like
yeah.
he just had to go
Well
take a break in jail for a couple of years, and then he
well,
was out back
and,
at it.
keep in mind, he didn't have a home. It wasn't the
Yeah.
worst thing for him, and he would usually get about a 5 to 10-year sentence. He was always out within 2 years or less because he was such a model prisoner. He was
Mhm.
he was adored in prison. In fact, one of the judges that sentenced him said he was the most charmingly good bad man he had ever met. So, I think that tells the story of this personality that he had. There was something
Well, They do say sociopaths have a very charming personality and very hooking to people, like they can get their grasp into people real quick. So,
And he did, and
yeah.
he did.
Now, during the Halloween season, the veil between the worlds gets thinner and the chills get real. Oh, so very real. Something is waiting in the dark, and it's calling your name. So answer the call this Halloween season for the Paranormal 60 presents Halloween Haunts and Hijinks, October 9th through the 12th, for a supernatural weekend you'll never forget. It's being held at the historic haunted Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota. Join Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files, Ghosts of Devil's Perch, and the host of the Paranormal 60 podcast. He's teaming up with Dalen Spratt from Ghost Brothers and Phantom Forensics. And we have heart-centered, intuitive Diet Renee for a weekend packed with spine-tingling experiences. You'll have 2 nights of live investigations and paranormal experiments, interactive workshops, gallery readings, and meet and greets, live presentations with experts themselves. This isn't just an event, it's a doorway to the unknown. So you have to ask yourself, do you dare cross it? Now, tickets are limited, so please book your Halloween Haunts and Hijinks adventure now at darknessevents.com. Again, that is darknessevents.com.
I mean, he would do these extravagant scenarios where he would set up a scam. So he would go, like in Topeka, Kansas, the National State Farm Insurance Convention was going on in, I think, 1951. And
Okay.
he goes there. He sits in the hotel bar, gets a room, he gets a hospitality suite, sets up a hospitality suite, and guys come by, have free drinks, and hey, what's your name? And all this, he would get, hey, oh, you're in New Mexico? I'm in New Mexico. Let me look you up. What's your phone number? Get the phone number, go in the other room, call up his wife, the guy's wife. Hi, I'm calling from St. Mary's Hospital. Your husband's been in a terrible accident. He's here. We need you to wire $1,000 immediately to Western Union. Put it under this name. That is our finance guy. He will pick it up and pay the bill, but you have to do this today. He needs surgery. It's a crisis.
Oh,
And then
geez.
one of his aliases, he'd show up there and get $1,000 check. He did it all day long. Every guy that came in there, because of course these wives are all scattered. They don't know. When he ran out of wives, he called the home office for State Farm. Hey, your guy, I'm here with the hotel. He lost his wallet. He has no money. We're going to have to kick him out on the street. They said, well, we'll wire you $500 for the week. State Farm started paying him regularly. So,
Oh my gosh.
and get this, in one of these cases, so he would just move from conference to convention. In one of these cases, he actually got bored of scamming people. It was, it started to become like, this is labor. This is work. I have to do all this work. I got to make these calls. I got to drive to Western Union. So he goes over to the next state over. It's in the middle of the convention. He goes over there. He rents a storefront and he sets himself up as a guru fortune teller. He gets the turban. He gets purple robes. He gets the glass bead curtains. He gets the crystal ball. He says, I can tell the future. By the way, his name was Guru Gypterm. Gypterm was what he named himself.
True chip term.
There's an irony in that. He sets up business. His first customer is the mayor's wife. She swears he can tell the future. He can connect with the dead. She tells everybody. He makes in 3 days the equivalent of $55,000 in 3 days, and then goes right back to the convention and picks up his scam there.
Oh my.
It just the pages of Vanishing Act, which is ultimately about a plane crash and a fake death, is such a small sliver of this man's life. And to be honest with you, Winnie, there are parts where you laugh out loud. You're like, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh," like that. How could he possibly pull this off? And
I
there's
know,
times
it's
you
amazing.
have tears in your eyes. His story is mercurial. It's a roller coaster. It's stunning in every way, and it's completely unknown. We uncovered all of this. We discovered this.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, and that's what caught my eye with this book because I love the movie Catch Me If You Can, and this, is literally kind of like the real story, even though Catch Me If You Can was based off of Frank Abagnale,
Mhm.
uh, who was a real guy who did, he actually ended up helping the Secret Service,
Right, yeah,
be a fraud, consultant, I guess you would say. They
yeah,
would consult with him. They got some time off of his sentence for him to be a consul for the Secret Service and FBI for counterfeit checks and things like that because he was so good at it.
yeah, yeah.
So good at it, and I'm just like, the way he did it, I could see how he gets stuff past people, but, with Robert Spears, I mean, he just it's plain as day, it's a con, but nobody's picking up on it. It's, like, if you're watching this as a movie, you'd be yelling at the TV screen, be like,
Exactly.
Don't, he's cutting you, don't be an idiot." You know what I mean?
I
So it's
He had insurance salesmen. He set up a desk with a lot of pretty ladies that he'd hired in town, and he set up a desk in his hospitality suite and said things like, "Give me $200 and I will get you more business than you've ever had." They gave him $200, he walks out the door. That's it. I just here's $200. $200 was $2,000 in today's money. "Yeah, sure, I'll give that to you." Because he had developed this reputation that was larger than life, and, he had people going around the hotel, "Oh my gosh, you've gotta do this thing. This guy got me so many leads, it's incredible." He had hired entire groups of people, scenarios, set up scenes and scenarios. He was brilliant, honestly, he was brilliant at what he did.
oh, he was a master con artist, man.
But
Talk
this is
about the
also
goat.
this is what leads us to abortions too,
Yeah, okay.
and
So, yeah, the whole backroom abortion thing. Now, in the first part one, I asked, was he really a doctor? Because obviously, he probably did not go to school at all for this. That's just a moniker he just picked up and decided to do procedures on women. Is that kind of the gist of it?
yeah, actually, it was very coordinated. It
Mhm.
wasn't happenstance. He bought a diploma for a college diploma because to get a medical license, you had to have a college diploma. He bought a college diploma. I actually don't remember exactly, but I think it was Duke University. He bought a college diploma. He bought a medical license out of the trunk of a car from a guy that sold it to him for $500. Incidentally, the guy that sold it to him was the head psychiatrist for the Manhattan Project, which of course was the atomic bomb in New Mexico. And he was the chief psychiatrist. He was on staff there in New Mexico. If you recently saw the movie,
Yeah, and Oppenheimer, yeah.
Oppenheimer, so they had an entire town, right? It was an encapsulated
Hmm.
town where they all lived and worked. Well, he was on staff
Mhm.
there, this doctor, because they knew there would be psychological challenges for these people working there, partly because they can't connect with the outside world, but also because
Yeah,
they know they're creating the greatest weapon of mass destruction that ever existed.
right.
So they have a psychiatrist there. When that Manhattan Project is over, he goes up to Ohio and is a doctor at a mental institution where he works with people with severe psychological issues. And
Mhm.
there he becomes completely disillusioned with the industry because they are practicing electroshock therapy. And he said, they're just frying people, they're destroying people. And he comes
Mhm.
out and says, this is wrong. And he gets blacklisted. And he is so angry at the medical association that he takes his medical license and he just prints up 500 of them, starts selling them out of the trunk of to destroy the medical industry. And that's how Dr. Spears got his medical license. To my
Wow, what a
knowledge To my knowledge, I don't know that Dr. Spears ever read a book, anything. Now, he was what was called at the time a naturopath. So a
Okay.
naturopath was kind of holistic medicine. And
Mhm.
in the first half of the 20th century, naturopaths were on equal footing with physicians. And
Mhm.
the reason was in the first half of the 20th century, people did not trust vaccines, inoculations, pills that were created in laboratories with chemicals that they didn't know. So they tended to say, this is how my mother treated a sore throat. This is how my
Mhm.
grandmother dealt with a sour stomach. So there was the same number of naturopaths in America as there were practicing physicians at the time that Dr. Spears is now entering into this world. So a
Okay.
naturopath was highly regarded at the time.
Okay.
So he becomes a naturopath, has his medical license, and he's operating in Maryland at the time. Actually, just got out
Okay.
of prison in Maryland. He had just gotten served a 2-year sentence in Maryland. And he
Uh,
gets out, decides, I'm going to be a doctor. Just
okay.
decided, I'm going to be a doctor. There's money there. And he ultimately becomes the president of the American Naturopathic Association. He's the keynote speaker, the featured speaker, the president of the entire national association. He's never studied anything in his entire life, knows nothing.
Oh
He's
my
now
god.
standing tens of thousands of practitioners, telling them what to do. He testifies before Congress on behalf of naturopathy. I mean, it's just amazing what he's doing. But
Oh,
in the course of being a naturopath, which his original intention was to be a physician, a fake physician, but to actually do medical
mhm.
treatment, he finds that there's an underbelly to naturopathy, and that is abortions. And
Okay.
so, under the guise of a naturopathic doctor is an entire vein of people who only perform abortions. That's the only thing they do. Now, it's
Okay.
important to know for everybody to remember, and of course, we're in a changing society right at this very moment now, but it was illegal. Abortions were illegal. It was illegal to perform an abortion. It was illegal to have an abortion.
Okay.
Therefore, if a woman had an abortion and it had a bad outcome, a terrible outcome, if she went to the police, she would be arrested and sent to jail. So the very act of saying, I'm dying, someone butchered me, I'm dying, I need help. And if she said it was from an abortion, she's going to go to jail.
It's
The
awful.
man who paid for it, in all likelihood, gave her the money. She paid for the abortion. She's the one that performed the illegal act. So the men never got caught. The men never got mentioned. And um, I'm going to say it speaks a lot to today that
Mhm.
a very difficult issue. This is an issue that
Yeah.
doesn't go away automatically.
No.
Uh,
It's not.
so there were, by records, millions and millions of unwanted pregnancies during this time. But the social stigma was so great that you
Mhm.
had to run and hide and change your identity basically to have a child somewhere, or you had an abortion. And as a result, an entire network became established, a network of abortionists. There were the backroom abortionists, but it was really, um, let's say, pseudo doctors that people had begun to trust. And what Dr. Spears, who he's now Dr. Spears, he realized two things early on. He's in Maryland, but he wants to be in Texas because Texas oil men are getting a lot of secretaries pregnant. And
No, yeah.
there's a massive amount of wealth in Dallas as well. This is the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
This is the oil explosion time, and they are becoming phenomenally wealthy.
Mhm.
He also finds out that Texas is the only state in the union where you can transfer a medical license without having to take the boards again. So every other state in the union, if you transfer from Maryland to, say, California or to Minnesota, you have to take the state
Mhm.
boards again, and you have to recertify as a doctor, except for Texas. Once you go to Texas,
Oh.
they don't check the records. They don't make you recertify. They accept you as what you say you are. Once you are a Texas physician, you're now a member of
Mm.
Texas Physicians. Your license can never be questioned or reviewed. So you are now actually a doctor. Once he arrived in Texas, he was actually a doctor, a naturopathic
Wow.
doctor. What he did is all of his stationery said Robert Spears, MD. Now, he was not an MD by any stretch of the imagination,
Yeah.
but he was only known as that. I mean, he was Dr. Robert Spears, had a wife, he had a couple of children. He lived in an exclusive neighborhood of Dallas, had a beautiful 2-story brick mansion, drove a brand new car. His wife threw garden parties in the social
Wow.
set, and they were just a highly respected family. And he made every dollar that he made on abortions. He would do 6, 7, 8 a day, 5 days.
Wow. Now, with this network that's building of abortionists, are they trying to keep, like, kind of a standard across the board to make it, to make sure that these procedures are going, I mean, have a better chance going as planned and not having, like the backroom abortions, you always hear about some guy with a coat hanger in some dark room. Did they have kind of a standard, across where they had all their, like, little networks of abortionists, so that way it gave, that trust, so it kind of felt more clinical and legit and things like that? Is that kind of what they were giving the illusion of?
You wanna believe that, don't you, Winnie?
I do.
No, they didn't care about the patients at all. There
Oh.
was no this was greed driven 100%. I'll go and in just a minute, I'll go into the network because the network was more extensive than you would realize. But when I say network, it wasn't the practitioners.
Mhm.
It was the lawyers, it was the police, and it was the judges was the network. It was the legal system that was the network for abortions. The doctors
Oh,
just
no.
played their role. So that's gonna be a difficult discussion, but let me just tell you this. Um, Dr. Spears and most of the abortionists that I would say were his peers, and he knew a great number of them, um,
Mhm.
started to move away from, let's say, a medical procedure with medical equipment. They started to move away
Okay.
from that. And he invented a substance called Euroclear, um, which was described in Time magazine as a sweet-smelling purplish serum, and it was lye-based. It was from boiling lye. Now, your listeners are gonna know what that means.
Um,
It's just a devastating concept.
oh,
And so he
oh
started
my
moving to this Euroclear, and, um, he started shipping it all over the world. So we really have no idea the impact that this man had. He had set up
oh
an
my
international
gosh.
business, and he the stories are horrendous. And these stories, in part, make their way into the newspaper, obviously a 1950s very cleaned up version. But
Yeah.
and they're not saying they're having abortions. There's more like there's an epidemic of women having what they called female problems.
Female, okay.
Yeah, and that's how
Wow.
that's how he advertised, by the way. "I'm a specialist in female problems," and that was code for
Uh-huh.
abortion.
Wow, that's horrendous just to think that he would just inject women like oh, with lye? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
and
Uh,
we'll get a little further of the story because one of these instances is how he's ultimately arrested, and that
okay.
situation is a difficult situation. But let's talk about this network for a second.
Yeah.
So, abortion was considered in the probably 30s, 40s, 50s, all along. And
Mhm.
this is, before the pill. So women are getting pregnant.
Yeah.
They are getting pregnant. So abortion was considered a necessary evil in America.
Mhm.
It was not acknowledged. It was condemned from the pulpit. It was condemned in society, but everybody knew it had to exist because
Mhm.
it would destroy the fabric of America if 1 in 4 women was pregnant and married to another man, and I mean, it would destroy the
Yeah.
fabric, maybe the false illusion of America, of 1950s America, that
Right. Yeah.
had just won this great war and was fighting a Cold War, and, the economy was exploding, under
Mhm.
Eisenhower, that interstate system was being set up, and it was people were buying 2 cars, they were buying washing machines. It was a wonderful time in America, and
Oh
they
yeah. Yeah.
did not need this black cloud hanging over, um, God's chosen country, to be honest with you. So,
Right. Right.
the when there would be a compromising situation, let's say from a well-connected man,
Okay.
because the poor people ended up with the clothes hangers.
Yeah.
So, if a well-connected person, and apparently there was a very booming business in these well-connected men, um, they would go to the police chief, "I got a problem. I got a problem. I need
Yeah.
some help." "Okay, you donate to the police league, you're a member of the Kiwanis, we go to the same church. I can help you out." So then they had lawyers in place, which this is what they handled, what they did. They made connections. So the police chief would get $500. The lawyer would get $5,000. And he had judges on his payroll who would then say, uh, "We're going to take care of this situation completely. No one's ever going to know about it."
Oh.
By most accounts, um, the first two were greedy guys. The judge
Okay.
was trying to maintain social order in a community. Like,
Okay.
if the pastor of the Lutheran church goes to prison, if the head of the bank goes to prison, wait, if 5 out of 15 men go to prison, we have to
Right.
control this, and to a certain extent, we have to save these women's lives because
Yeah.
they would be destroyed socially forever. They would be damaged goods, and it was always like, going back to an earlier point you make, we believe this is going to be a safer, healthier situation for these women. So at that point, those judges, by some accounts, cared about that.
Okay.
It was when Dr. Spears and his crew began to moving into these liquid abortions, these chemical abortions, that really all helped
Um.
both of us because it was really more like a hit and run type thing. He could ship a package to somebody, say, "You inject yourself 3 times, the next day, you'll lose your baby." And they would be mailed from, no return address, blank, and they were paying everyone they paid between 2 and $5,000 in today's money for that little bottle with
That
an
serum?
yeah, between 2 and
Oh.
$5,000, uh, for it.
Wow. So
So, it's a dark chapter. Uh, it happens to be an American chapter. It
Yeah.
happens to be a very real American chapter because this was going on in every small Christian community across this land and in every
Mhm.
major city. Um, the people of color and the people of poverty were sacrificed in this. So they were the ones that were getting arrested. They were the ones that were being hauled in because society wanted to see somebody's taking action here. But at the
Right.
high end, at the higher level, at the elite level, the people with money and power were able to live their lives the way they wanted and know that they would be taken care of. And this is a chunk of the story because this network has become very established. And it's really at this point that Dr. Spears says, I think there's more money to be made in Hollywood. So
Oh,
he
no.
makes the decision to move to Los Angeles, buy a home, Palos Verdes, overlooking the ocean, beautiful home, worth millions of dollars today. It's still there. It's worth millions of dollars. And he moves his family there and starts a new partnership. And that's the
Mm.
next big chapter of this story.
Okay. So, what was the partnership like? Was it something like obviously Hollywood? Did it have something to do with like actual Hollywood, or who was his partner in this elaborate scheme that he was going to start pulling there in Hollywood?
Well, I'll take one step back. So I
Okay.
spent several years researching and writing 2 books that are not yet published, but 2 books on uh, an actress that became very, very famous in her day, Academy Award nominated, and then tragically, accidentally shot herself and paralyzed herself. And it's a completely unknown story. Nobody knows anything about her, but
Oh wow.
she was at the time that Katharine Hepburn was out, this woman, Susan Peters, was voted the #1 box office attraction in both America and Canada. She was a
Oh
bigger name
wow.
than Betty Davis and Katharine Hepburn, but Hollywood didn't know what to do with a paralyzed actress. And so it's a
Oh,
tragic story because they wanna hide her and put her away. They want perfection. And in the course of researching this, I read all about a guy by the name of Don Loomis, and he was the fitness guru for the movie stars. He was an employee of MGM Studios for
okay.
30 years, 30-year employee. He developed what was called the physical culture, and his nickname was, oddly, the flesh sculptor. So he would take men and women, we got her from Minnesota, we got her from Iowa, we got her from Nebraska. She was a waitress, she was a farm girl, and they would bring them to him, and
Mhm.
he would put them through months and months and months of a heavy regimen,
Mhm.
exercise. Um, Big thing was to build up the women's busts, and
Yep.
so he had exercises. Um, the men, he needed flat stomachs, he needed biceps, he needs pecs. So he's doing all this. The women are learning how to walk and talk and giggle and
Mhm.
be sweet. The men are learning how to play tennis, how to look good in certain clothing. And this is Don Loomis. He's doing all this. So um, he invented the physical actually started in Minnesota. He was a Minnesota
Oh,
guy, a trainer that moved out to Hollywood. And
that's cool.
yeah, and he has actually a whole history there in Minnesota. Might still be Loomis's around. So don't sue me. Um, so he becomes this, a very famous guy in Hollywood on his own. He's interviewed. I have trading cards with him, Don Loomis trading cards that they made in the 1940s that went in cigarette packs in the back of cigarette
Well, that's
packs.
funny.
Yeah. So um, what it turns out is he is the official abortionist for MGM Studios. He's on salary, along with all the rest, to be an abortionist. Now, in the 1950s and early 60s, there's a huge change in Hollywood because up to that point, fitness, health, the actresses need to be glowing and healthy looking. They need to have perfect figures and long legs. The men had
Yeah.
to be Cary Grant and Gregory Peck, and they had to be that. The Rat Pack changed all that. Now they're smoking, they're drinking, they're swearing, they're slurring their speech, and that becomes what Hollywood transforms into. It's the Rat Pack now. It's Las Vegas, it's abuse, it's all of this. So the physical culture moves out, and he moves full-time he has to go into business on his own. Now, your followers should know, during his time at MGM, he performed 5,000 abortions. 5,000 abortions.
Wow.
He had a mobile clinic. He had a white van with a red cross on it. He would go to actresses' houses, perform the abortion, go on to the next one. They were referred to by both Dr. Spears and Don Loomis as their milk route. They would just go from house to house to house to house.
Oh,
When I did all this research on this actress, I got all of my information from the movie magazines of the day. And they would repeatedly say, all the movie magazines would repeatedly say, there is an epidemic of appendicitis in Hollywood. We don't know why, but there's an epidemic of appendicitis in Hollywood. All the young women are having appendicitis attacks, and that was the code word for abortions. So they would have an appendicitis attack. Dr. Loomis would come to their house in his mobile clinic. A week later, they're back on the set. 5,000 abortions.
Oh my gosh, that's so so disheartening, that number, 5,000
Yeah.
abortions.
And I discovered this through an MGM memo, which actually revealed what an appendectomy meant. And I found it in a memo. So it's quite a discovery because and all of that unfolds with that story. I mean, a story in itself, right? I mean, that's quite a story in itself.
Have you ever felt like something or someone was trying to tell you something? That inner nudge, that quiet whisper from the universe, with intuition sharpened by years of spiritual connection and a deep-rooted gift. Winnie Schrader delivers readings that are compassionate, insightful, and shockingly accurate. Whether you're facing a crossroads healing from heartache, or just curious what the cards reveal, Winnie creates a safe, sacred space to explore your journey. This isn't fortune cookie fluff. This is honest, intuitive guidance from someone who's helped hundreds find clarity, closure, and confidence. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Book your session now at lovelotustarot.com and take control of your journey. That's lovelotustarot.com. Winnie's sessions are personal, powerful, and often life-changing. That's lovelotustarot.com.
Yeah.
So Don Loomis has now moved out of MGM because nobody cares about being fit anymore. And he becomes a full-time abortionist. This is his partner now. So Dr. Spears, coming over from Dallas with a lot of history, a lot of wealth, a lot of practice. He gets a home nearby. Loomis and his wife, they become very close friends. They're socialite friends. And they go into business together. Spears, believing he still has all the Hollywood contacts. And Loomis is saying, this is a guy that's going to bring almost all of his kind of Dallas, his wealthy, rich people, businessmen contacts. So it's a partnership. They go into partnership. They're making money. They're doing well. And in 1959, in September of 1959, Dr. Spears gets a call, and then nothing out of the ordinary, needed an abortion.
Okay.
What he would do is he would rent a room, usually in seaside motels, all along, Manhattan, Huntington Beach, all of these Los Angeles seaside towns. And in this
Mhm.
case, he rented a motel in Santa Monica
Okay.
and met a 22-year-old school teacher there and injected her with Euroclear, too strong of a dose, and it literally melted her on the spot. Her
Oh.
her fiance was not a wealthy businessman. He was not a sugar daddy. She was a 22-year-old school teacher. He was a UCLA student, and
Mhm.
they just they she would have lost her job as a school teacher. They would have, it would have destroyed their lives. So they decided to get an abortion. Well, because he dearly loves her, this isn't just taking
Okay.
care of an awkward situation. He rushes
Yeah.
her to Westwood Village Hospital. They said, "Oh my God, what happened? What could have possibly done this to you?" And he says, "Dr. Robert Spears, here's his phone number, here's his address, here's how he did it. This was the agreement. Everything, spills everything." An hour later, they are in Dr. Spears' beautiful home and say,
Okay.
"We're coming to arrest you for doing an illegal abortion." Now, his wife maintains she never knew anything about this at all.
Okay.
But Dr. Spears has the motel key in his pocket, and he knows when he's searched, they're going to know exactly where this took place. He walks over to his wife and drops the key down her bra.
Oh
And
my gosh, what a jerk.
so she's standing there. In the police records, it says, "We went over and told her to fish it out."
You could go in there and get it.
Fish it out.
What the heck? Oh my god, this guy. He
So
just
when they go to the motel room, they see the equipment, they see the Euroclear, they see the blood, they see everything. But they see more than that. They see that he has been working on a manual of all the procedures and their partnership agreement with Loomis and all this kind of stuff. And he knows that they put him in the car, they drive him over there. He knows when they find all this stuff, they're going to know the whole story. So he does something unbelievable, unconscionable, even in his world. He remembers that the IRS will pay a 10% fee to anyone that turns in someone who has been evading taxes. So we'll give you a 10% finder's fee for what we recover. So he says, I did the math and I knew how much money he was making, millions of dollars. So I'll turn in my partner for the finder's fee. So he
Oh
turns in
my
his
god, what a
partner
jerk.
for the finder's fee. He said it was just a kind of a math problem. I just figured out how much I would make and it was worth it.
You're the solution to my word math problem there.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he just
The
threw
other
us.
guy's like, "What the hell?" I mean, it's like, what? What'd you just do?
Oh
So
my
that is
god.
actually the case that um, he's going to go to court for, and he's out on bail when he decides, I think I'll fly to Tampa, Florida. So
Oh
that
my.
is actually what connects the plane story now.
Oh, jeez. Now, with these women, what happened to these women? Did it affect any other organs of the body, or was it, did somehow it was only focused on the reproductive organs?
Yeah, it destroyed all the female organs for sure. But no one really knows what happened to all these women because some of them that they were able to track were, I guess you would say, were sickly the rest of their life. They had injected poison into their bloodstream,
Yeah.
and they, their lives were destroyed. There's no doubt about it. Their lives were destroyed. Um, it it make this 1950s society we talked about a little
Mhm.
bit earlier, but this perfect all-American society, this Christian society. I'm a Christian, so I
Mhm.
have empathy for it, but this cover up of there's more going on under the surface, which I think actually will lead to the rebellion of the 1960s, because
Mhm.
the kids that were born in the 50s said, you know, they went to church and did this, but they did this at home. And
Mhm.
I think eventually they say, we're just going to throw it all away. I think that's what led to this,
Right.
seeing this, watching
Right.
it. So,
Yeah, because the 50s, it was just that wholesome Americana, the family with the white picket fence. You guys went to church. The mom always dressed up in her Sunday best. I mean,
oh,
pretty much every day. But yeah, it was just that very wholesome time period in America post World War II. Yeah, and the economy was booming under Eisenhower. And then,
think of the
eventually.
TV show Mad Men and the perfection of how they looked, and they always had, I'm gonna have a glass of whiskey and bourbon, and they went out with their secretaries, and the secretaries were all beautiful, and I mean this idyllic kind of world. If you ever look at the movies in the 1950s, my gosh, everybody lives in a New York penthouse. They have these
I
beautiful
know.
penthouses, they dress perfectly. What do you do for a living? "Oh, we wanna dress what I do for a living."
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah, this is what America believed. This is us.
yeah.
We're the chosen ones. You know, we won the war.
Right,
We're it.
right. Yeah, yeah, it
And
was
so
that time period.
that covered a lot of really dark things, I think, that happened. Really, really dark things. Also, at this
Mhm,
time, this is when Joseph McCarthy is coming in. Speaking of Minnesota, um,
mhm.
he starts to say there's an evil force up there across the oceans. They want to destroy our way of life. They're atheists. They want to destroy everything that's important. So now this fear builds up. We got to protect that. We have to protect, this precious life that we have. And I think a lot of this proved to be a cover for Dr. Spears and the likes, because he could just
Okay.
fly in. I read reports. So let me just tell you, my associate, my researcher, Julia Strada, we read thousands of newspaper articles, um, read them, typed them up, cataloged them, organized them, reconstructed this man's life, which nobody knew about. I mean, they did right at that little
Mhm.
slice, but not much.
Yeah.
Um, so we reconstructed this life, uh, but through the Freedom of Information Act, I was able to get a hold of the FBI's all the case files on this case, and
Okay.
every interview they interviewed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people all through the stages of his life, all the neighbors, everywhere he lived, every place he worked, everybody he knew. Fascinating just read through FBI files. I have to tell you, because
Right.
previously they'd all be redacted, but now they're, you by the way, not easy to get. Not
Yeah,
easy to
I
get.
know. Everyone
It's not
says, "Oh, Freedom of Information Act." Well, it's still not it's
yeah.
not like they're gonna just send you a PDF of it.
It's not like in
Yeah.
the movies when they say, "Well, we'll just get that." It's
Yeah.
it's almost like the FBI is constantly asking, "Why do you want this? How come you want this?
Right,
What are you looking for?
right.
What are you after?" You're like, "I'm a writer. I just wanna learn about it." "Why?"
Yeah,
So so anyway, we got a hold of these records, and, that was such an eye-opening thing too, and it leads me to the next part of this network, which is, kind of the culminating aspect of it. So,
Mhm.
in the end, Dr. Spears They can never arrest him for the plane crash. They just cannot the FBI cannot put together a case. He was America's #1 most wanted person. J. Edgar Hoover had called a press conference. We're going to find this guy. We're going to get this guy. He's a big deal
Ooh,
guy in his
Hoover.
day. Yeah.
Hoover, huh?
Yeah. Who was doing a
Ugh.
few things on his own. But anyway, he is eventually arrested for transporting a stolen car across state lines. So when he drove that car across the state lines, that's what they eventually send him to prison for. And he's sent to prison, Terminal
Wow.
Island, off Long Beach in California. And he gets a 5-year sentence, and he serves every day of those 5 years.
Oh,
And
you can get out early, huh?
no, he did not get an early release. So on the day of his release, and you all have seen this in movies, the big gates swing open, and the guy's got the cheap suit on. He's walking out. He
Mhm.
steps out like, is a car going to be waiting for me? That kind of thing. It's that classic movie scene. Dr. Spears walks out. He takes 2 steps out. I'm free. And Lieutenant Zander of the LA police force walks up and arrests him on the spot for abortion. The original charge that had launched all of this. And he arrests him. And
Oh, how ironic.
isn't it? And this time he goes to Alcatraz. And
Ooh.
he befriends the Birdman of Alcatraz. It was during that time.
Oh,
He
God.
is a major person in Alcatraz until he develops cancer, and he is sent to Springfield, Missouri, to a federal penitentiary there that has more medical treatment.
Mhm.
And he's released just short of serving his full 10-year sentence, and on a humanitarian basis, where he goes home, gets a small apartment, and dies of a heart attack in the middle of the night. So that's
Wow.
his ending. But that's not the ending of the story,
No, there's
because
always with this guy.
the FBI records. So
Uh-huh.
when I got these FBI records, thousands of pages. You're reading interviews from a neighbor. I don't know. We always thought it was odd, or just
Yeah.
inane, very mundane type things. Yeah, yeah. Oh, his wife was nice. She knew how to make a carrot cake. Then at some point, so Lieutenant Zander is exactly Tom Hanks in Catch Me If You Can. He
Oh,
is
okay.
exactly Tom Hanks. And he headed up a 5-person special detail for the LAPD called the Abortion Squad. And if any of
Oh.
your followers remember the images from like the Untouchables, so the fedora hats, the
Mhm.
overcoat, walking like a V, right? They're striding. It's slow motion. I mean, it's that classic, like, wow, these are cops. These
Right.
plus the mobsters, this kind of stuff. Well, that's what these 5 guys were. They were all Hollywood. They were photographed. They were put on display. They were put on pedestals. We're the abortion squad. We break up the bad guys.
He had
Articles
T-shirts.
yeah, yeah. Abortion squad. So they're heroes in town. And they track these guys down, and they arrest them. They throw them in prison. They're quite the heroes. There was even, they couldn't talk about abortion in that day, but
Yeah.
they were the untouchables.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
I turn a page in the FBI report, and I find
Uh-huh.
out they were all on the take with the abortionists, every one of them. The entire abortion squad they were all dirty cops on the take.
Oh. So
They
they were basically
They
like
were
the
the ones
flesh.
that set up the attorneys. They were the ones that connected with the judge. They had a whole
Uh-huh.
network, and it was all a payoff schedule. And when Dr. Spears is arrested, he is told, "You have to pay us $10,000." And he says, I'm not paying you $10,000. And they're going, you have to. Loomis has to pay us $50,000. You have to pay us $10,000. He goes, no, we've been paying for protection. That was part of my partnership. We've paid for protection every month. I am not paying this money because I've already paid for it.
Yeah.
And they arrest him. They
Oh
arrest
my,
him.
so
You don't pay the money, you're going to prison. And he's like, hey, then his wife is writing to the police department, LAPD. Hey, we paid the money already. We've already paid the money. They're going, what money?
oh
So he's
wow.
arrested. And they were all on the take. In the FBI records, they have the name of every single person of the 5. They spell it all out. They spell out the network. But the FBI never busts the ring. They never do anything about it. It's almost like they said, we're after this guy. That's another case altogether. Or
Mhm.
did
Yeah.
they know again? What did they know that they said, Chief Parker was famous at the time. He was famous for cleaning up a dirty LAPD. That was a
Okay.
very, very dirty police network. He was famous for cleaning it up. Did they say, if we now expose the entire network, does all that fall? I don't know. There's no way to know, but it's a fascinating term. 2 years ago, the Los Angeles Times did a major, like, Sunday section type, huge story where they went back to celebrate the abortion squad. Some of the greatest, nobody knew about it because they couldn't talk about abortion, but these were heroes. They interviewed their wives. They interviewed their children. I'm so proud of what my dad did. He was rescuing women's lives. He was saving lives. My dad is a hero. Never got the recognition. I wrote to the reporter and said, let me show you a page from the FBI record.
Let me ruin your day now.
Yeah. No response. No response.
God, that is crazy.
Interestingly enough, I tracked the lives of these 5 men
Uh-huh.
very carefully through newspapers, through family records, through everything. Every one of these men who were, I would say, were in their 30s, mid-30s. So they had a huge career. They were stars at 30. They had big careers ahead of them. Every one of them retires in the next year after the FBI report is filed. All 5 of them retire. When I would read about their they would, in the newspaper, in the LA Times, there'd be retirement party for, so and so. Be a little retirement party article.
Yeah.
He's going to the mountains of Montana to live in a cabin and fish. He's going on a worldwide cruise and will be out of contact for the next year. He's going to a small farm, unnamed farm in, they just disappeared. All of them just disappeared. And it's an amazing story. Again,
Yeah.
this time, this era, what don't we know?
Yeah. Well, because a lot of that, stuff was always swept under the rug. Then nobody wanted to air their dirty laundry.
Yeah.
It was hush hush. It was taboo to talk about bad things. And, I mean, that's why everything looks so pristine and perfect. But under the surface, it was not. But
Well,
we were pretty good at giving the illusion it was for
yeah,
at
well,
least a hot minute.
Leave It to Beaver, all of these shows during that era, when you think about it, those are all 1950s shows. And you think about it, and like, that's American life. This Loretta Young is walking down in flowing robes on a long staircase, and she's supposed to be America's mother. Incidentally,
Yeah.
she had just had an abortion too. But anyway, we're painting this picture. It's amazing. It's
Right.
This is why it's an Americana story. Vanishing Act is a story of a crime. It's a story of a criminal, but it's a story of about 60 years of Americana life. The humor of Flim Flam Mans and snake oil salesmen, the
Yeah.
guy with the turban and the crystal ball.
Boy, I would have paid to see that.
Oh
you know,
my gosh, that would have been
buying a
hilarious.
medical license out of a trunk. I mean, it's all around, you know?
To the psychiatrist that was in charge of all the people for the atomic bomb. What is happening? And that's what I really like. That's why your book really caught my eye, because it's not just about the plane crash and the fake death. This is what he felt like he had to do to survive during that time. And he was using everything as an opportunity. He knew that there was a need for women's issues to be taken care of, so he built a business around
Yeah.
it and made money off of it. That's what he did. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of underground stuff that happened to all the stuff that Americans did back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s of sweeping things under the rug. Somebody had to clean that up somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not just, you know what I mean? So there might be a lot of other underbelly kind of seedy stuff going on, not just abortions, but other things as well. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe
this was the era.
trafficking was
Yeah, this
back
was the
then.
era
I don't
of
know.
mafia. It was the era of,
Mhm.
Chicago mafia. It was the era of New York drugs and prostitution, among the poor. And, there were a lot of segments in America that I think were, I'm sure if I could talk to my mother today, she would
Mhm.
go, well, I've never heard any of that stuff. I mean, it was the 1950s.
Right.
We went to church. Your dad worked at Boeing Aircraft. I was a librarian. I don't remember hearing about all that. I asked her one time, what do you remember about World War II, like the Holocaust aspect? Oh, we never heard anything about that. You didn't know
Oh,
that
really?
they were imprisoning Jews? Like, no. We did food drives. We did, drives to gather rubber and nylons and stuff. We were just doing our patriot. No, I don't remember ever hearing about that. She said,
Oh,
afterwards
wow.
we did. But she said, we were just America. We were just waving flags.
That naivete, that
Yeah.
jadedness, not really knowing the gravity of what's going on
Yeah.
around you. Just everything's looking through looking at the world through rose-colored lenses, I guess. I mean, hey, if if it got him through a day, because we all know that good old mom with her pearls had a little bottle of whiskey tucked
Yeah.
behind the fridge. You know
Uh,
what I mean? But, yeah, I mean, it was a different time in America. American life was completely different. It was very moralistic, Christian based, nuclear family, mom, a dad, 2 kids and a dog and a white picket fence, a job, mom got to stay at home, wear her pearls and her dress and vacuum while dad was at
yeah.
work and the kids were at school. So, it was a great time period, but yeah, it created a lot of underground illegal activity as well, because nobody wanted to see it on the surface, so it had to go somewhere. And unfortunately, when it goes underground like that, it's harder to find, it's harder to stop, it's harder to build a case. But obviously, the FBI, did some work. I mean, I'm glad that he finally got caught, but I don't even know how this guy kept getting out of jail. He must have had Johnny Cochran for a lawyer or something. Because I mean, my God, the
He
stuff he
actually
was.
he actually had a lawyer that followed him for a good part of his career. His last name was Forno, and
Mhm.
he would get like a $50,000 fine and a 5-year sentence, and then the next thing he knows, it's a $50 fine. But literally, I mean, it's right from the pages of the book. It'd be like, yeah, don't worry, I worked it down to a $50 fine. This was in a case where he was caught doing an abortion in a log cabin somewhere in the Midwest, and the police walked in. The girl's there, her rich not husband, rich boyfriend is standing next to her. He's performing the abortion, and 2 cops walk in, and they
Wow.
arrest everybody on the spot, and the girl gets in trouble, and he pays a $50 fine, Dr. Spears. So,
Wow. That's
wow.
so baffling.
Wow.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Jerry. This story, I love this. It got so many different aspects. It's a roller coaster. I would love to see this turn into a movie, like have another Catch Me If You Can Part 2, and it's his story of Robert Spears, Dr. Robert Spears. But I'll have a link today in the description for the book Vanishing Act, A Crashed Airliner, Fake Death, and Backroom Abortions. If you like roller coasters and bait and switch and FBI and chasing cat and mouse, this book is for you. So please check it out and rate and review these books, people, because it helps these books get seen by others who like these, but they may not even know they exist. Share it. Tell your friends. Let them know that this book's amazing. But thank you so much, Jerry, and I hope to see you guys all next week.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. And until our next case, my armchair detectives, stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay aware. I'll see you right here next week on Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot.